The Assembly Line Revolution. The Galactic Trade Consortium meeting chamber floated in perfect silence above the crystalline planet of Nexar Prime. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their designated atmospheric pods, each one carefully calibrated to maintain the exact environmental conditions their biology required. The chamber itself was a masterpiece of engineering, a testament to what the galaxy considered the pinnacle of collaborative construction. It had taken 3 centuries to build, with each component handcrafted by master artisans from across known space. Marcus Chen stood at the human delegation's pod, watching the swirling colors of Nexar Prime below. He was a broad-shouldered man with graying hair and the kind of weathered hands that told stories of decades spent in factories and foundries. Behind him sat his team of 5 industrial engineers, economists, and manufacturing specialists. They had traveled 4 months through fold space to reach this meeting, and everything depended on what happened in the next few hours. The Galactic Arbiter, a towering Kelthian with 6 arms and bioluminescent skin that pulsed with authority, called the session to order. The translation matrix hummed to life, converting every word into the native language of each species present. We gather today to address the petition submitted by the human delegation of Earth, the Arbiter announced, her voice resonating through the chamber like a bronze bell. They seek full membership in the Galactic Trade Consortium and wish to establish manufacturing agreements with member species. The floor recognizes Marcus Chen of Humanity. Marcus stepped forward, his movements deliberate and confident. He had practiced this moment 1,000 times, but standing before the collected economic might of the galaxy still made his pulse quicken. Honored representatives, he began, his voice steady. Humanity comes before you today not with empty hands, but with a gift. We offer the galaxy something it has never seen before, something that will revolutionize how goods are produced, distributed, and consumed across every inhabited world. A ripple of chittering, humming, and various other sounds of curiosity spread through the chamber. The Rexian ambassador, a reptilian being named Fexalor, leaned forward in his pod. The Rexians were known throughout the galaxy as the premier manufacturers, their handcrafted goods sought after on every civilized world. Humanity is young, Fexalor said, his forked tongue flicking between his words. Your species has been in space for less than 2 centuries. What could you possibly offer that the galaxy has not perfected over millions of years? Marcus smiled. He had expected this exact response. Mass production, he said simply, industrial capacity on a scale that turns manufacturing from an art into a science. The chamber erupted in confused noise. Several species appeared insulted, others merely perplexed. The Arbiter raised 2 of her 6 hands, calling for silence. Explain yourself, human, she commanded. Marcus gestured to his team, and holographic displays flickered to life around the chamber. Images of Earth's factories appeared, vast buildings stretching for kilometers, filled with assembly lines, robotic arms, conveyor belts, and thousands of human workers moving in coordinated precision. In the galaxy, when you need a starship component, you commission a master craftsman. That craftsman takes raw materials, applies their decades of knowledge and skill, and over the course of weeks or months creates a single perfect piece. It is beautiful. It is precise. It is also incredibly slow. He pulled up more images showing the production floor of a human automobile factory. In Earth, we learned long ago that perfection is the enemy of progress. Instead of one master making one perfect item, we break the manufacturing process into hundreds of smaller steps. Each worker specializes in one specific task, performing it repeatedly until they achieve near perfection through repetition alone. Machines assist them, handling the most repetitive or dangerous tasks. The result is not one perfect item taking months to create, but thousands of nearly perfect items rolling off production lines every single day. The Rexian ambassador's scales darkened with what Marcus recognized as anger. You speak of reducing noble craftsmanship to mindless repetition.
This is an insult to every artisan in the galaxy." "Is it?" Marcus challenged, his voice calm but firm. "Tell me, Ambassador Thexelor, how many of your master craftsmen does it take to build a cargo hauler, and how long does that process take?" The Vrexian crest flared. "A team of 15 master shipwrights can construct a standard cargo hauler in approximately 8 months, working in perfect coordination. The result is a vessel that will serve faithfully for centuries." Marcus nodded respectfully. "And in those 8 months, humanity can produce 200 cargo haulers of comparable quality, using assembly line methods and standardized components. Each ship may not be a unique masterpiece, but they are reliable, efficient, and available when needed. More importantly, because we use interchangeable parts, repairs take hours instead of weeks. A damaged component is simply swapped out for a new one from inventory." The chamber fell into stunned silence. Even the Arbiter's bioluminescence dimmed as she processed this information. A new voice spoke up from the Deltherian pod, a species known for their mathematical precision. "The human claims are statistically improbable," the Deltherian representative said, its crystalline body refracting light in complex patterns. "Our calculations suggest that quality must decrease proportionally to speed of production. This is an immutable law of manufacturing." Marcus had anticipated this objection as well. "That would be true if every item were made by hand, yes, but we use something called statistical process control. We monitor every step of production, measuring tolerances and quality metrics in real time. Any deviation from specifications is caught immediately and corrected. The machines don't get tired, don't lose focus, and don't have bad days. Human workers supervise, innovate, and handle the complex tasks that require judgment and creativity." He brought up more data, showing quality control charts, defect rates, and reliability statistics. "Our defect rate on standardized components is less than 0.02%, and because our production volumes are so high, we can afford to test samples from every batch extensively. The Galaxy makes perfect items one at a time. We make near-perfect items by the millions, which statistically gives us more total perfect items than any artisan could dream of producing." The Vrexian ambassador stood, his full height impressive, even in the reduced gravity of the chamber. "These are merely words and numbers, human. Any species can manipulate data to support their claims. I challenge you to prove your assertions." Marcus met the Vrexian's gaze steadily. This was the moment he had been waiting for. "I accept your challenge, Ambassador. Name the terms." Thexelor's eyes glittered with confidence. "A manufacturing trial. Your human methods against our traditional craftsmanship. We will both produce the same item, a standard navigation computer for a Class 3 transport vessel. Our master artisans against your assembly lines. Whoever produces more units of acceptable quality within a standard galactic month wins. If you win, humanity gains full consortium membership and manufacturing rights. If we win, humanity withdraws its petition for 10 years and does not raise this matter again." The Arbiter looked to Marcus. "These are significant stakes, human. Do you accept?" Marcus didn't hesitate. "We accept, but I have one condition. The trial must be conducted on neutral ground with full transparency. Representatives from every member species should observe both production facilities to ensure fairness." "Agreed," Thexelor said immediately. "We have nothing to hide. The Vrexian Guild of Master Craftsmen will demonstrate why our methods have stood the test of time across this galaxy." The Arbiter raised all 6 arms. "Then let it be recorded. In one standard galactic month, this consortium will reconvene to judge the results of this trial. Both parties will establish production facilities on the orbital platform above Nexar Prime, where all may observe. May the most effective methodology prove itself." As the meeting adjourned and the various species began departing to their vessels, Marcus's chief engineer, a woman named Sarah Okonkwo, approached him with a concerned expression. "Boss, you do realize we just bet humanity's entire future in the galaxy on our ability to outproduce the best craftsmen in known space. right?" she said quietly. Marcus nodded, watching through the transparent walls as Vrexian ships began departing in formation, their hulls gleaming with intricate hand-engraved patterns. "I do, but Sarah, they don't understand what they're up against. They're thinking in terms of dozens or hundreds of units. They've never seen what happens when human ingenuity meets industrial-scale automation." "We've got a month to set up a complete production facility in space," Sarah pointed out. "That's going to be tight, even with the fabrication modules we brought." "Then we'd better get started," Marcus said, a determined smile crossing his face. "Call Earth. Tell them to load every prefabricated assembly station we have onto the fastest haulers available. We're going to show this galaxy what the word industry really means." As the human delegation made their way back to their ship, the rest of the galaxy watched with a mixture of curiosity.
When industry meets innovation. The orbital platform above Nexar Prime had been transformed into two distinct production facilities, separated by a transparent observation gallery where representatives from across the galaxy gathered daily to watch the competition unfold. On one side, the Rexians had established what could only be described as a temple to craftsmanship. Soft lighting illuminated individual workstations where master artisans sat with arrays of precision tools, holographic schematics floating before them like ethereal blueprints. The atmosphere was serene, almost meditative, as each craftsman worked with the focused intensity of a sculptor creating a masterpiece. On the human side, the contrast could not have been more stark. The facility hummed with constant motion and energy. Assembly lines sketched in parallel rows, robotic arms moved in synchronized choreography, and human workers moved between stations with purposeful efficiency. The lighting was bright and practical, the environment designed for maximum productivity rather than aesthetic beauty. Where the Vrexian facility whispered, the human facility roared with industrial purpose. Marcus Chen stood in the observation gallery on the seventh day of the competition, watching both sides with analytical intensity. Beside him, the Deltherian observer was taking constant measurements with its crystalline sensory apparatus. "The Vrexian facility has completed 17 navigational computers," the Deltherian reported, its voice like wind chimes in a breeze. "Each unit has been tested and certified as meeting all specifications with zero defects. Quality rating is flawless. At their current pace, they will produce approximately 73 units by month's end." "And the human facility?" asked the Kelthian arbiter, who had taken personal interest in observing the competition daily. The Deltherian's crystalline structure flickered with what might have been confusion. "The human facility has completed 241 units as of this morning. However, quality testing is still being conducted on the latest batches." A murmur ran through the assembled observers. Even those species who had supported humanity's petition seemed shocked by the production volume difference. 241 in 7 days? Fixalor, the Rexian ambassador, stepped forward, with his scales displaying obvious satisfaction. Clearly, quantity has indeed come at the cost of quality. No doubt their defect rate will prove our point about the superiority of traditional craftsmanship. Marcus said nothing, simply watching as human workers on the factory floor moved through their carefully choreographed routines. Each assembly line was divided into 43 distinct stations. At the first station, raw materials and component packages arrived via automated delivery. At each subsequent station, a specific task was performed, whether by human hands, robotic assistants, or a combination of both. By the time a navigational computer reached the end of the line, it was a complete, tested, and certified unit ready for installation. Sarah Okonkwo was on the factory floor, supervising the quality control station. She wore a headset that kept her in constant communication with every station chief, and her hands moved across holographic displays showing real-time production metrics. When she noticed Marcus watching from the observation gallery, she gave him a subtle thumbs up. Everything was proceeding according to plan. "Perhaps we should examine some of the completed human units," suggested a Forian representative, a floating jellyfish-like being whose species specialized in biotechnology. A direct comparison of quality would be illuminating. The arbiter nodded her agreement. "An excellent suggestion. Let us conduct random sampling from both facilities." Within an hour, an independent testing team had assembled in a neutral laboratory space adjacent to the observation gallery.
They selected 10 units at random from the Vrexian completed inventory and 10 from the human production run. Each unit would be subjected to identical testing protocols, examining everything from basic functionality to performance under stress conditions. The Vrexian units went first. As expected, they were flawless. Each navigational computer not only met every specification, but exceeded them in subtle ways. The circuit patterns were more efficient than strictly necessary, the housing materials were of premium grade, and the user interfaces had been polished to an almost artistic level of refinement. These were not merely functional devices, but works of engineering art. The testing team's lead evaluator, a Torth with compound eyes that could perceive 17 different wavelengths of light, spoke with evident admiration. Vrexian unit quality rating is exceptional. Average specification compliance is 103.7%. These units will likely function flawlessly for several centuries with minimal maintenance. Then came the human units. The testing team approached them with obvious skepticism, expecting to find the compromises that must have been made to achieve such high production rates. The first unit was placed in the testing apparatus, and diagnostic routines began running. Silence fell across the observation gallery as results appeared on the displays. Human unit quality rating is acceptable, the Torth evaluator announced, surprise evident in its multifaceted voice. Specification compliance is 99.8%. All functions operate within normal parameters. The second unit tested, then the third, then all 10. The results were consistent. Every single human unit met or exceeded minimum specifications. While they didn't quite reach the exceptional quality of the Vrexian craftsmanship, they were undeniably functional, reliable, and completely acceptable for their intended purpose. Thixelor's scales shifted to a darker hue. This proves nothing, he insisted. Yes, their units are acceptable, but ours are superior. Quality must count for something in this evaluation. It does, Marcus said, speaking for the first time since the testing began. But let me ask you this, Ambassador. If a transport company needs to outfit a fleet of 1,000 vessels with navigational computers, which approach serves them better? Waiting years for your master craftsman to produce 1,000 exceptional units, or receiving 1,000 acceptable units within weeks, allowing their fleet to begin operations immediately? He walked to the display showing production metrics. And furthermore, consider the economics. A Vrexian master craftsman represents decades of training and irreplaceable expertise. If something happens to that craftsman, their knowledge and skill may be lost forever. But in our system, workers are trained to perform specific tasks in a matter of weeks. If someone leaves, they can be replaced without disrupting the entire production chain. And the human workers can move between different production lines, learning new skills, advancing their careers, and bringing fresh perspectives to the manufacturing process. Quella Okonkwo had joined them in the observation gallery, and she answered before Marcus could. That's a common misunderstanding of how we actually work. Yes, each worker has a specific role in the assembly line, but they're not mindless automatons. Every worker on that floor is empowered to stop the entire line if they spot a problem. They're trained to identify defects, suggest improvements, and innovate within their domain. We hold daily meetings where line workers discuss efficiency improvements and quality enhancements. Some of our best innovations have come from the people actually doing the work, not from engineers in an office. She pulled up personnel files on the display. See this worker at Station 17? His name is David Martinez. 3 months ago, he was working at Station 8. He identified a more efficient way to route connection pathways, and we promoted him to a more complex station where he could apply his problem-solving skills. We're not creating drones. We're creating specialists who understand their specific part of the whole so thoroughly that they can see improvements that others might miss. Marcus nodded. And here's something else the galaxy needs to understand. Our factories don't just produce goods. They produce prosperity. Every worker on that floor earns a wage that allows them to support their family, purchase goods and services, and contribute to their community's economy. Multiply that across thousands of factories on hundreds of worlds, and you create an economic engine that lifts entire populations. The Vrexian method is beautiful, but it's exclusive. Only a select few can become master craftsmen. Our method is inclusive. Anyone with dedication and willingness to learn can participate in the industrial process. The observation gallery had grown crowded as more species representatives arrived to witness the discussion. The implications of what they were seeing were beginning to sink in. This was not merely about which production method was better. This was about two fundamentally different approaches to civilization itself. But what about the cultural loss? Asked an Elorian philosopher, a being whose species valued artistic expression above all else. Your masters create unique pieces, each one slightly different, each one bearing the mark of its creator. Your products are identical, interchangeable, devoid of individual character. Do you not lose something essential in this standardization? Marcus considered the question carefully before answering. We lose individuality in components, yes, but we gained it in application. A Vrexian navigational computer is a work of art, but it's also expensive and rare. Only wealthy ship owners can afford them. Our navigational computers are affordable and abundant. A young entrepreneur on a frontier world can start a shipping business because our components are within reach. A colony facing supply shortages can get replacement parts within days instead of months. We're not eliminating craftsmanship. We're democratizing access to technology. And gesture to the human factory floor. Don't think we've abandoned art.
When industry meets innovation. The orbital platform above Nexar Prime had been transformed into two distinct production facilities, separated by a transparent observation gallery where representatives from across the galaxy gathered daily to watch the competition unfold. On one side, the Vrexians had established what could only be described as a temple to craftsmanship. Soft lighting illuminated individual workstations where master artisans sat with arrays of precision tools, holographic schematics floating before them like ethereal blueprints. The atmosphere was serene, almost meditative.